Bitcoin looks ready for a brand new all-time high. Over the past few weeks it has seen a massive move towards the upside, but I think it's ready for even higher targets. In this video I will share my exact trading ideas for both Bitcoin but also for Ethereum. In my opinion, it's very hard to be bearish when the chart on Bitcoin is looking like this. What we can see is that Bitcoin has been reclaiming this very pivotal range low area of this higher time frame range. Currently, Bitcoin is very close to that range high area, and I'm personally expecting this range high area at least to get swept over here, because we have plenty of liquidity resting above these highs over here, and we have even more liquidity resting above this high over here, and obviously also the all-time high is acting as a major draw on liquidity for the price of Bitcoin. Now, on the lower time frame, what we can see when we move to the 1 hourly time frame, we can also see that this structure right over here is looking extremely bullish. This, in my opinion, is what I call my favorite continuation structure, because what we can see is that Bitcoin was slow grinding towards the upside over here. The slow grind towards the upside was being followed up by an aggressive flush to the downside, and then Bitcoin started trading back above that high right over here. Now, this is what we call my favorite continuation structure. So remember, slow grind up, followed by an aggressive flush. If you then trade back above this high, this is extremely bullish, and this is exactly what we are currently seeing on the price of Bitcoin. So once Bitcoin started trading back above that high right over here, I turned extremely bullish. We can see that over here, this demand was acting as beautiful support, got an impulse up, broke structure, and right now Bitcoin is, in my opinion, consolidating, compressing before the next leg towards the upside over here. Okay, so this compression phase can result into a little flush to the downside first, bit of a fake out, and then we continue higher. Or we reclaim this trend line over here, get a flush down again, reclaim it again, and then we squeeze towards the upside. Now, in my opinion, this is looking rather bullish on the price of Bitcoin. What I also really like is that the current weekly high that Bitcoin put in, so we had the weekly open right over here, right, on Monday. So this over here is the current weekly high for Bitcoin. This, in my opinion, is a very low probability pivot to hold for the remainder of the weekly candle. Because when we look at the weekly timing statistics on Bitcoin and we gather data over the last 2 years, we can see that 73.1% of weeks form the first pivot for the weekly candle after Monday 3 o'clock in the morning, which is where we have currently formed the weekly high. And when we look at the weekly distance statistics over the last 2 years, we can see that 81.3% of the weekly candles have seen a bigger wick towards the upside before bearish expansion compared to the current wick towards the upside, meaning that we have around a 75% probability that the current weekly high is gonna get taken out during this current weekly candle, meaning that if you use the current weekly high as the invalidation for your shorts, you're basically playing with a 25% win rate. Now, in my opinion, this adds a lot of confluence to my bullish bias for Bitcoin. Now let's have a look at the potential executions towards that new all-time high for Bitcoin, because what we can see is that Bitcoin overnight swept Monday's low. While sweeping the Monday low, Bitcoin was holding this demand area over here, and afterwards Bitcoin was seeing a push towards the upside over here as well. It did not only sweep the Monday low, but at the exact same time, while Bitcoin was forming a lower low over here, Ethereum was forming a higher low, meaning that we are forming an SMT divergence between Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. So now all that I want to see on Bitcoin in order to hop into new long positions is that I want to see a confirmed break of this lower high that brought us to this lower low. By a confirmed break, I mean I want Bitcoin to open and close a candle above that high that brought us to that lower low. If Bitcoin can manage to do that, then I'll be looking to long the bullback on Bitcoin right over here with my invalidation beneath Tuesday's low, and then I'll be targeting a brand new all-time high around $112,000. 14 days of access to the best trading community in the space, Tribe Capital, for just $1. All that you guys have to do is follow the first link in the description down below, join the community, learn and earn at the exact same time, and I'll catch you guys there. Also for Ethereum, in my opinion, there's very little reason to be bearish. What we can see is that also Ethereum has seen a beautiful reclaim of this very pivotal range low area. And also Ethereum, guys, has a very pivotal range high area right over here, where we have some beautiful big wicks that we can take out around this range high over here around $2,771. Now, there's still a possibility, in my opinion, that we are going to sweep some of these equal lows over here around the range low area for Ethereum. This scenario is not a scenario that I'm ruling out of the question. To see a bit of a deviation below the range low before expansion towards new highs over here. But for now, in my opinion, Ethereum is looking rather bullish, because what we can see on the 1 hourly time frame, if you compare the Ethereum chart to the Bitcoin chart, we can see that Ethereum is simply slow grinding towards the upside. It's constantly holding the lows over here. We can see 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows, 4 lows, and 5 lows, slowly slow grinding towards the upside. Now, what we often see is, as long as this trend line over here holds, is that these slow grinds to the upside at some point result into a very aggressive flush to the upside as well. So even though I'm not ruling out of the question that we can see a dip like this, deviate below that higher time frame range low and then push up, for now, in my opinion, Ethereum is looking pretty bullish, because Ethereum was also sweeping the low over here, but while sweeping that low, it was already forming an SMT with Bitcoin over here. So where Bitcoin was forming a lower low over here, Ethereum was forming a higher low, and more locally overnight, as I just explained with the Bitcoin analysis, Ethereum and Bitcoin were also forming an SMT. And in both the occasions, Ethereum was actually stronger than Bitcoin. So where Bitcoin was forming a lower low, Ethereum was forming a higher low. So for now, in my opinion, Ethereum is rather looking bullish. Now, in order to get a trigger for Ethereum to start looking for longs, I want to move back towards the 30-minute time frame. Because despite the fact that I really like the SMT, there's two scenarios possible. There's a scenario possible that we are going to see one more dip, still take out Monday's low on Ethereum. If this happens, then I want Ethereum to first reclaim the low over here, that brought us to that lower low. If this happens, I think we have ourselves a beautiful long on Ethereum with our invalidation then beneath that local low over here. And then we get targeted drawn liquidity over here around $2,771 for a beautiful RR of approximately 2.5. The second scenario, which is also possible on Ethereum, is if we break the current significant high to break as well, which is the high right over here on the 30-minute time frame. I really like this high, and I'll explain to you guys why. Because what we can see is that this high over here swept this lower high, it swing filled it, and then it gave us an aggressive push to the downside or right over here. And that aggressive push to the downside over here brought us to a lower low compared to this low over here. That brought us to that higher high, making this low very, very significant. So if Ethereum, breaks this high over here, you have yourself a significant break of structure, and I think we have a decent possibility to also continue higher for Ethereum, and then you can play the higher low over here for a similar setup, but then we have our invalidation over here. Same target around $2,771, giving us an even better RR of approximately 3.5. I hope you guys enjoyed this video again today. If you guys did enjoy this video, I would honestly love it if you guys could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and then I will catch you guys on the next one. Ciao, ciao!